welcome to the Dan and Qasim podcast, Think Big with Dan and Qasim. And our guest today is Dave Lopez. So, Dave, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself
Sure, I'm Dave Lopez.
and tell us like a little bit more about, like your story, I guess, like what you do and kind of, and I guess just, for our audience to know, I know that you've worked with in the e-commerce space, or like a retail space in the past. So a little bit more about kind of how you got to where you are. I know that you're working at you have a consulting business and you can share like a little bit, I guess your story of, yeah.
Okay, sure, yeah. So I got my MBA and I immediately went into retail, and I worked in retail for many years. For 10 years, I was at Neiman Marcus and Abercrombie and Fitch. And so I had a great experience with retail. And then I moved to New York, and in Manhattan, I worked in the design business, and I worked side by side with a designer named David Yurman. And David Yurman, I don't know if you know David Yurman, the brand. It's a fantastic jewelry brand. It's like Rolex. It's high end. And I worked with David, and we helped build his brand for a few years in Manhattan. And I started my own brand market strategy consulting company in New York, working with designers and manufacturers and international people who do silver, people who manufacture. So we sort of did deals with lots of retail stores, with lots of designers. And then I left that business and I reinvented myself. And I basically work in marketing strategy now. And I've worked with all kinds of different companies. I'm just a sort of a free flower. And one of the companies I got involved is an online sort of a digital marketing experience with Wave Block, which is an EMF protection company. So we do EMF protection. Are you familiar with EMF protection?
Yeah.
So yeah, EMFs are those things that you can't see. They're the things that affect our lives that are generated from electronic devices. It's like electromagnetic impulse kinds of things. And we designed some products that deflect those away from your ear on your earbuds. And we patented the technology. And so now we're just rocking and rolling, and we're selling for phones, laptops, MacBooks, and earbuds, EMF protection. And so we've been doing that for now about 2 years, 2.5 years, and had some great success. And we're launching some new products this fall. And so, yeah, so I'm involved in different things. I do consulting projects still, and just basically just trying to stay busy, I guess.
That's awesome. So you mentioned that you got your MBA from Harvard. Obviously, Harvard, everybody knows Harvard. We have a global audience. Can you share, I guess, like what did it take? Like what does it take for someone to get into Harvard's MBA program? It's like a very impressive thing. I mean, there's only so many people that could say that they went to Harvard, but not just Harvard, but got their MBA from Harvard. So like what does it take for someone to get to that level?
You mean to be accepted at Harvard?
Yeah, like, to be
Yeah,
accepted and just to graduate in general. I mean, I'm sure it's the coursework is not easy, right? I mean, you're at
yeah.
Harvard, it's a very high standard program.
Well, I mean, the first thing you have to do is get accepted. And the funny thing is that Harvard has it's an unusual experience because they're looking for unique people. They want a well-rounded class because it's a Socratic method of learning, where I learn from you, you learn from me, not just learning from the professor. So they're looking at a well-rounded class. So the irony is, the more you try and make yourself fit a mold to get into Harvard, you're probably not going to get into it because they're really looking for unique people. And so for me, I was a liberal arts undergrad at the University of Texas in Austin. I was in an interdisciplinary honors program called Plan 2, which is the oldest honors program in the country at the university level. And they found me. I mean, I found them. I applied, and they were like, "Yeah, that's the mix we're looking for. We want that liberal arts background." I studied acting. They liked that I had studied acting. I was more different than the typical guy who went from an undergraduate degree in business or even engineering or whatnot. I was different. So when Harvard's putting together their class, they're looking at the unique characteristics that compile a microcosm of society. And so I say, be you, 100% you. You're going to have some basics like good grades and good, I don't even know if they take entry level exams anymore. So many things have changed. I don't know. They may not even take entry level examinations, but you just have to be you, and you have to represent yourself as far as what you're up to. So some people, they're all about saving the planet. So Harvard will have some of those in the class. Some people are all about, making money, starting companies, entrepreneurialism. They'll have some of those in the class. Some people are about, I want to do the greatest good for the greatest number of people. They'll have some of those in the class. And when you sit down with the class, you're going to be shocked at how bizarre all these people are. You're like, whoa, these people are not like what I would have thought. And so I think that's the beauty of Harvard. And then once you get in, you have to work your ass off. I mean, there's a mandatory, and again, I'm talking about several years ago. I don't know if they still do this, but there was a mandatory failure curve that only at 10% of every class would fail. And if you got enough fails, you failed the program. So there's kind of an intensity around the program first year. Second year, it's a breeze, but the first year is pretty intense. But it's great. It's fantastic. It's like a country club. It's great. The grounds are beautiful. The facilities are fantastic. The people are smart. I mean, it's great. It's like, wow, I'm so lucky I was accepted.
It's amazing. So you went there right after undergrad, right? You didn't even work in the corporate world at all. You went right after undergrad. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct. I did work. I worked for 2 years in Chicago with IBM because they wanted me to get some work experience. Albeit I will say that I don't think the work experience did me any good, but that's their philosophy to get some work experience. I think if I'd had work experience in an entrepreneurial venture and then went to business school, I think it would have been fantastic. But just to work for a corporation and to go to Harvard Business School, I don't think I learned that much. But yeah, I worked 2 years in Chicago, and I had to reapply. Actually, it's a funny story. I called the dean of admissions for Harvard because they had rejected me on the first set of applications. I was 21 years old, graduating from the University of Texas, and they have different levels of rejection. I got a rejection with an encouragement to reapply. So I called the dean of admissions and I said, "You made a mistake. Did you even read my application? Because there's no way you wouldn't want me in your class." And he was like, "Whoa, we've never had anyone call us like this before." And I said, "Well, why wouldn't they?" And I explained my spiel and everything. And he was like, "We're going to put a star by your name, Dave. We're going to remember you." And they sent me an acceptance letter after I had gotten 1 year of work experience or 2 years of work experience. I got an acceptance letter, and they called me to tell me that I'd been accepted. So there are different ways that they let you know that you've been accepted. And they called me, "Hey, Dave, you've been accepted." I was like, yes.
This is something, by the way, that defines leadership and shows a path to the leadership and confidence. Oh, yeah. Yeah, in fact, you are an example of leadership and confidence. Like nobody's gonna call Dean, nobody's gonna call Dean. Hey, you missed this. So
Did you really read my application? And I mean, but I was serious. I wasn't trying to be obnoxious. I was really serious. I was like, "How could you not choose me?" I'm exactly what you're looking for. And so I think there was a certain honesty because I come from a very poor family. So my family is not educated. I don't know how to get into Harvard Business School. I'm just doing my best, And I think there's something about the struggle that they like. Someone who has that kind of like chutzpah, right? I'm just like, tell me. I don't know what to do to get into Harvard. I did my best. Did you make a mistake? I'm like, I made great grades in college. I'm super smart. I'm a good guy. What the hell are you looking for? So, I mean, it's funny though, right? But I think that when you're poor, when you come from when I came from a poor family, I don't know better. I wasn't polished. No one polished me and said, you've got to do it this way and do this and meet this person. And, I didn't know any better. I just said, I got to do what I've got to do. Right. And so anyway.
Yeah, this is sometimes which goes out of the box. Like obviously, this is what we say, going out of the box. When you have already some defined patterns in front of you, you will always think about those patterns. When there are no patterns in front of you, then this is the time when you will be going out of the box. And sometimes in our company, sometimes when we do not get good talent, we do not get good resources for some work, what I do is I say, okay, we are not gonna hire any experienced resource. We are not going to hire any employee who is already experienced, who is already working in this field. We are going to hire a fresh grad who has never ever worked on it, who don't know about this.
That's right.
So
And
he will be going to give us a new idea. He will be the one who will be going to show us a new direction.
I think you bring up a really good point. And could you tell me how to pronounce your name again?
Qasim. Qasim.
Qasim. Qasim.
Yeah.
Qasim, you bring up a great point. And that's what became my hashtag. Start being different became my hashtag. And that's what I've done my whole life. I'm the guy who's the outsider who comes in and who brings a whole new, fresh idea, fresh perspective, right?
Yeah.
I'm the guy from Harvard who's wearing a navy blazer, and I walk into Neiman Marcus, which is selling Gucci, Versace, Louis Vuitton, and they hire me. And I'm the guy who applies business methodology to retail and fashion, and we have tremendous success, right? I do it different, right? And I think what you're saying is with a fresh set of eyes, and this I believe is a tremendous advantage in leadership, is the person who comes in almost with an idea of being an outsider, who looks with a fresh set of eyes, whatever's going on, and says, you didn't think about this, or what about this, right? I mean, it's so glaringly obvious to an outsider, right? So yeah, I like that very much. And I've done that my whole life. That's what I've done my whole life. I just go and I say, what are they missing here? So, and these are things they can't teach you in business school. This is a way of being, right? So I mean, Harvard could teach me strategy, it could teach me analytical, I would get analytical skills and whatnot, but a way of living, you don't learn a way of living, you don't learn a way of being. Perhaps it's cultivated from an environment, perhaps it's cultivated from necessity, right? When your back's against the wall and you don't have $100 million inheritance coming to you, and you've got to go and create your own wealth, there's a different motivation in life, right?
Yeah, obviously. Now you have something in your mind that I'm not gonna make this with money. I'm going to make this in some other way. You will find the way. In fact, that's something great. I really like that.
Oh, thank you.
People just need to believe in this concept, because unfortunately in the corporate sector, people are looking for someone whose age is 30 years and have 20 years of experience of doing this. So this thing never don't work always. I will say not. I won't say never, but this thing do not work always. Sometimes you need to go out of the box.
Thank you. They have 30 years of bad habits is what they have.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. That's the way I look at it.
Exactly.
It's very refreshing to talk with like this. It's very refreshing.
No, it's awesome. So I would ask you, and I've known people that have gone to Harvard, and they always tell me that the connections are some of like the biggest things. How would you say that helped you in your career? Did it help you like at all, like the people that you met while you were in your MBA program?
Yeah, well, Dan, again, I'm an outsider, right? And I think I'm probably ignorant in the ways of the world because I come from a poor family. I don't even understand these family heritage and names, and I'm not like that, right? I'm just a guy who wanted to do my best. So I didn't even capitalize on making connections. I just did my best. I enjoyed going to school there, and I made a few friends. That wasn't a motivation of mine because I didn't even understand that. I just was there to just do a good job and to learn. I really wanted to learn because I didn't have business. I had liberal arts as a background, and I wanted to learn business. So for me, I'll be honest with you, I went to school with a prince from Saudi Arabia. He was in my class, but I'm not motivated to like go try and make friends with him because he's a prince. I make friends with people I like. I don't know. I tend not to worry about that stuff. I believe it'll just figure itself out. And while I was there, I was the producer of the Harvard Business School show. I was actually the director. We do a show every year, and I was the director. So I worked with all the musicians that were in the program and all the actors. And I mean, because there are a lot of those people that Harvard brings into the program. So it's a lot of fun. I mean, I had a great time.
That's awesome. So when you went for business school, did you always know that you wanted to have your own business, or did that kind of this idea kind of spark your interest later in your career?
Yeah. Again, I think I'm pretty ignorant when I'm walking into Harvard. I'm ignorant. I don't know what I want to do. I just know that I want to learn uh, business language and I want to learn business applications because I was a liberal arts student. I didn't know what I wanted to be. I just knew I wanted to understand the function of business in society and how economics work and things like that. And so for me, that hunger to be on my own really was established as a result of hating the corporate environment, because I just hate corporate environments and I hate the stupidity that goes on in corporate politics. So once I started to see the corporate politics that takes place, and believe me, it's everywhere. Believe me, I just got turned off, and I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. I want to be free. If I want to go have a 2-hour lunch or go to the gym in the middle of the day and then come back and work at 8 o'clock, that's what I want to do. And I was at the forefront, at the vanguard, if you will, of a new way of doing life, because up until that point, my age demographic, it was Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, 9 to 6. That's my age demographic. We didn't know this world that exists today, but I wanted that for myself when no one else was doing it. And I was like, no, I don't want to live like that. I want to take off. I want to work out during the day. I want to come back and work until 8. And so I started realizing, man, I go against the grain of thought. I better be an entrepreneur because no one can manage me. And then I got to the point where I didn't even want to be managed. I don't want a manager, I don't really want it. I did work for some very famous people, though. I worked for the lady who would ultimately run Victoria's Secret. She was the CEO of Victoria's Secret. I worked for the lady who would become CEO of Avon, Andrea Jung. She became very famous. I worked for the former CEO of Macy's, Terry Lundgren. I worked with the CEO of Abercrombie, Michael Jeffries, who was Wall Street's darling for a long time. I worked with some very powerful people who became very powerful in the industries, right? So I had a lot of mentors, a lot of people who went ahead of me, who I learned some things from. And that's where I was able to amass a connection, if you will, to some people who made things happen, and powerful people, I suppose you could call them,
Have you ever had a fear in your maybe back of your mind or somewhere while you were working with these sort of famous people? Like sometimes you get pressurized when you are working with a very famous person, maybe a celebrity. So sometimes you get a little bit pressurized. I don't know how they will perceive my work. They're gonna like my work or not. So what was your situation at that time?
I mean, I've always worked with famous people, right? Because I was dealing with Armani, Versace. I was dealing with all the designers. So I've always worked with famous people,
But
maybe not celebrities. And
mhm.
I worked with David Yurman, who's very famous. He's probably worth 3 to 5 billion now. I mean, he's very famous. So I
Yeah.
did work side by side with a lot of these people. I never had a fear. I like
But
these people because I like people who know what they want. I'm not afraid of people who tell me what they want. I don't like working with people who don't tell you what they want and you have to guess.
okay.
That to me is much more difficult than this is what I'm looking for. Got it. Okay, this is that, that's simple. Tell me, don't make me figure. I'm not a psychic, Don't make me figure it out. Just tell me. But I found that some of the people that I worked with in very high positions were actually easier to work with than some of the middle
Mhm.
managers, because I think some of
Mhm.
the people in very high management, they're very clear about what they're looking for.
Mhm.
I never had any fear about working. I never had any fear, really. I think when you come from a family where you don't have any money, you don't have any fears. I don't know. I have nothing to lose.
You have nothing to lose.
I have nothing to lose. I mean, I'm like, what, I've already lived in a very poor home with nothing, I mean, I've already been there. I know what it's like to have a budget, to have to buy bread with Coke bottle returns. I know what this is like. How can I be afraid in an environment that I already grew up in? That I'm not afraid, No, I didn't have a lot
Well,
of.
in fact, I was just asking because of the new entrepreneurs, because we can see like every month, every day, there are new entrepreneurs entering into the market, and there's always a first time for everybody. Even for you, there was the first time. So, what was your reaction, or what was your feelings at the very first time when you were working with someone? Are you were working with some famous person even for the very first time?
Yeah, I have to be honest with you. I mean, I'm not lying. I It doesn't affect me. I
This is good.
to me we're
This
all
is good.
human. To me,
That's yeah.
I'm very spiritual, and I see that we're all human. We're all on our journey. Namaste. I don't get off my course. I don't know. I don't. I'm probably the wrong person to ask that question, because I actually enjoy, well, here's a little bit of information for you. The first famous person I met, I was 10 years old, and I was cast in the movie Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the first movie with Gene Wilder. I was filmed in that movie as a child. They came to our school in Munich, where I was growing up, and
Uh-huh.
they picked some American kids that were fat. And at the time I was fat. And they said, "Hey, we'd like to put you in this movie." So at 10 or 11 years old, I already was meeting famous people, and I don't know, I don't know, it just didn't affect me.
Yeah, this is in fact a thing to learn. In fact, I was asking you this because the new entrepreneurs should learn this. For the very first time, you have nothing to lose, and after this, if you are not confident, you are not gonna get anything done. So I believe this is what this is what I learned from you right now. So this is for everyone.
If I had a message, if I had a platform, and I have no platform, I'm no big deal, but if I had a platform and if people listened, I would say to them, stop trying to be a version of yourself that someone else created for you. Brendan Bouchard, the blah, 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 Tony Robbins, stop trying to fit into a mold that some, cosmic guru told you this is how things should be. Because as soon as you start doing that, you lose the gift of the distinction that you make in this world, which is what you bring. Stop, it's like, stop trying to fit in a mold and just start trying to get, what's the distinction about me? How am I different? What is it that I do that other people don't do? Because that's the distinguishing characteristic, right? That to me is it's that simple.
No, that's
Stop
really
trying.
cool. So I guess just to wrap
Promise.
this up, for the young people watching, I mean, any advice that you have, just for young people that, want to go into business, that have, aspirations of, going to Harvard, or just in general, like what would you advise someone who's young and has these kind of aspirations to be in business or be like an entrepreneur like yourself?
I would say, know yourself, meditate, understand who you are. Before you make moves, know what motivates you, know what drives you, know what you're really looking for. Because I was an idiot. I opened up a restaurant, and I didn't know that I didn't want to own a restaurant. And I lost a lot of money on my restaurant. And I'm like, why did I open this thing? I wasn't really thinking. Know yourself, know what you're good at, play to your strengths. Don't get outside your wheelhouse. I mean, it's ridiculous. I should never have gone in the restaurant business. I'm not a foodie. Stay in your wheelhouse, know what you want to do with it, and then just do it, and stop trying to be someone you're not, and just enjoy life. I mean, I don't think young people enjoy life the way I enjoyed life when I was young. I was always having fun. It was a blast. Everyone's so intense. It's like they want to be millionaires by the age of 20. It's like, come on, just enjoy life a little bit. Anyway, I don't know if that's helpful.
No, yeah, it is. And actually, it's funny because Qasim used to have like a restaurant too that was not successful, and we always talk about like focus on one thing, and he realized he needs to focus on this company on software development. So yeah, he's closed it down because he's like it's the same thing. It's like you need to do what you're passionate about, do what you're good at, and focus on that and be really really good at it. Because when you're just like halfway doing like a few different things, it's very hard to achieve like your actual goals. So
For sure.
awesome.
How
Well,
can I help you guys?
um. I mean, I think, it was really inspiring. Your story is really like just hearing like your journey for me personally was really interesting. I guess, Cosmo, I don't know if you have anything from your side.
I learned a lot from this podcast. This was one of my greatest podcasts, I believe. I really enjoyed this because I learned a lot of things. And the only thing I believe, Daniel, I would like to stay connected with Dev if he's open, obviously. Uh, Maybe in future we, we may benefit each other. But again, in real sense, I learned a lot. I really enjoyed chatting with you. If you're, I always think, I always try to think out of the box, and you gave me the points that were already in my mind, but I wasn't able to capture them properly. You gave me all those points. You gave me clues. I will be going to follow those clues for
Wow.
sure.
Well, that I'm honored by that. And I want to tell you all, you only know that much of my story from these 30 minutes. There is a whole nother 10 hours worth of conversation about the movies I made, the books I wrote, my near-death experience, how I found spirituality. It's far more interesting than what I've just said. I didn't
Well,
think I was that into it.
what you shared was very, very interesting for us. So, what I'm thinking, maybe we'll have to have a part two because I think, to your point, you
Yeah.
definitely have a lot of value to offer. That I agree. 30 minutes is probably not enough time. So,
Well, you
but
guys are
yeah,
awesome. And you're in Dallas. I mean, I'd be glad. Are you both in Dallas?
no, no. So, Cosmos actually in Pakistan.
Oh, wow. How cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he's gonna come visit soon, but he has not been to the U.S. yet. But yeah, he's in Pakistan.
Well, that's so awesome. Well, it's so nice to meet you. And Dan, if you're
Same,
in Dallas and you
likewise.
want to meet for coffee sometime when you're
Yeah,
not on your headset, let me know.
yeah, anytime. Yeah, for sure. Because you're in Plano, I think you said,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. I'm in
Yeah,
Plano.
yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm in
It was
Uptown,
so
so
nice to meet you both. So nice. You all have an awesome day.
thanks. You too. Thank you for your
Thank you.
time, Dave.
Thanks.
All
Thanks a
right,
lot,
all
Dale.
right, bye.
Have a good
Thank
day.
you.
Bye bye.